This week's blog post is the first in a series on Naumkeag. Naumkeag is a 44-room Berkshire cottage in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. The Gilded Age mansion boasts fantastic gardens, spectacular views, and an early sculpture by Frederick McMonnies that's on display in the type of site it was designed for, a garden rather than a museum. Naumkeag is a Native American word for the area around Salem, Massachusetts. It's on the east coast of Massachusetts. I have seen no explanation of why this mansion in southwest Massachusetts was given that name. The mansion was constructed in 1885 to 86 for the family of Joseph Choate, a high-powered lawyer from New York City. It was designed by McKim, Mead, and White, who were soon to become famous for such landmarks as New York City's original Penn Station, the campus of Columbia University, and the Boston Public Library. Fair warning, I grew up in Pennsylvania with mountains that look a lot like the Berkshires. I associate mountains with my happy childhood. So in these posts on Naumkeag, there will be a lot of photos of mountains, like this one on the lower right, which is the view from the south side of the house. In this and the next few posts, we're going to look at the exterior of Naumkeag, and then the gardens on its south side, the interior of the house, and the gardens on the north side. If you want to try and follow along, I've given you the trustee's map. This is the main house. We are looking at the gardens down here, and then we'll look inside the house, and then we'll look at the gardens up here. The east side of Naumkeag, which has the entrance from the road, is more formal, with brick facing and two large turrets. The west side is covered in rustic wooden shingles and has huge porches for enjoying the spectacular view of gardens, fields, and, yes, mountains. Moving on to the gardens. Joseph Choate's daughter Mabel, 1870 to 1958, a collector and philanthropist, met eminent landscape architect Fletcher Steele in 1926. Together they designed a series of spectacular gardens that make Naumkeag one of the horticultural showpieces of the Berkshires. In 1958, Mabel bequeathed the mansion, all its contents, and its spectacular grounds to the trustees of reservations. The grounds are maintained immaculately. I was stunned by the sheer acreage of gardens, including this step terrace. The garden includes fascinating elements, for example, a double path of stone that loops around this huge tree. If I'm reading the map from Naumkeag right, then this is the oak tree that helped the Choates decide to buy this particular property. At certain parts of the path, there are cylindrical wooden palisades, for lack of a better word, that gently rise and fall on their meandering way. In this photo, you can see them here. They're very low, and then they get higher as they come around this curve. And we will see them further along beyond this tree. This is a view of the southwest facade of the house from the gardens. And here are the palisades again, much higher this time. And we're looking next at this. This is a long teak bench at the intersection of several different paths. It's a really unusual combination of materials and design. Next week we will look at more of Naumkeag's gardens. Just a word on why I'm doing this series. Back in the summer of 2020, when most museums were still in lockdown or requiring masks, my husband and I discovered the pleasures of spending time in elaborate, exquisitely planned gardens. Our first excursion was to the Berkshires in western Massachusetts, where we visited the Gilded Age mansions of Naumkeag, Ventfort, and the Mount. I shared photos of those on Facebook originally, but I prefer to have my photos on my own website. And I've already shifted Ventfort. You can look that up on dianedurantewriter.com, and the Mount will follow eventually. For more Gilded Age mansions in New York, in Connecticut, in Massachusetts, in Florida, click the Gilded Age Mansions tag on my website. dianedurantewriter.com has hundreds of posts on Gilded Age mansions, sculpture, painting, architecture, and my other obsessions. To join the Sunday Recommendations email list, visit the URL that's on the screen or email me. And you can say, "Well done, Diane," or support my work and receive rewards by means of the tip jar on dianedurantewriter.com. As always, thank you for listening.